Good afternoon. Give everyone a minute to get in. Okay, let's see who has a scenario now that they want to share. Feel free to unmute yourself. Okay,
Can it be
I'm
either
gonna be.
buyer? Can it be either
It
buyer
can
or
be.
seller?
It can be anything you want it to be, Martha.
I think the only scenarios that I have are kind of generic right now, but my problem is the same with buyers as it is with sellers, is that nobody seems to have the motivation. So not the sellers that already have their house on the market, but the people that maybe aren't quick at putting it on the market and just want to know, a general idea of what they can do, and then they might put it on in a few months. And a lot of my buyers are still sitting on the sideline. I don't know if it's interest rates at this point, but I don't know. I don't know if there's anything I can do to change somebody's motivation. They've either got it or they don't, maybe.
Well, I think as being like a good expert advisor, it's helping them dig deep, and it's a good listen. I always say that people that are going to take your time aren't serious are a good group of people for you also to practice your skill on, right? Fair
Mhm.
trade. So I would sit down and say, look, the famous things like, I hear what you're saying. You don't know if you want to do something or not, and I support you 100%. Now let's go through some data and have a conversation and see what works best for you.
Okay, good point. Yeah. So don't be attached to it. Just maybe answer their questions, show them the data, and then just say whatever works best for you. I support fully.
Well, actually, I'm gonna challenge you here because I know you're
Okay.
capable of this. Show up and build yourself a process for people like this, right? So when people are really unsure, it either has to do with interest rates, inventory, or timing. There's not much
Yeah.
else that somebody could really consider in wanting to move, right? So
Right.
maybe the payment's too high, or they have these fallacies of, I don't want to get stuck in this rate forever, right? All those things. Inventory, am I going to find the right house? Is the prices too high? And then timing. Like, because if the market is too high for people today, supply and demand dictate any market in any vertical. They're not making more homes. Like, what would have to happen for there to be a significant, you look at these Inman articles that are like housing inventories at all highs. They have 3 months of inventory. That is not a surplus of inventory.
Right.
We start getting 6 to 9 months. Okay, fine. Like that then starts to become a surplus, right? So number one, everyone should understand absorption rates and how many months of inventory their market has.
Yeah.
Number one.
And I think that part of what I face, because I'm in largely a second home market, we cater to discretionary home buyers. Nobody's moving here for jobs. They're moving here for second homes, retirement homes, investment properties. So they don't have a motivation that they might have in a lot of other markets. Um, and having said that, a lot of my buyers that were very hot during COVID are still cooled off. And I don't know if it's interest rates at this point. I think what it largely is that they think the houses are suddenly going to come down 100,000, and they're not. I mean, we all know they're not going to come down 100,000. Will it become a buyer's market again at some point? Of course it will, but they're not going to suddenly plummet in price, but they have that in their head. I'm just going to wait it out until the prices come down again.
Great. And so would it be helpful if I shared with you in terms of cyclical things? The last time a market went down, say the house was $1 million to 900, what happened and what are the series of things that would need to happen so that you can make a data-driven decision? And ultimately, Martha, if regardless of data and everything, it's just not the right time for you, then I support that
Yeah,
100% too.
good point. Okay, thank you, Chirag.
Of course. Look, I think the other part is if you're in a second home market, you're selling a dream and an
Yeah.
experience of what a future could be for them,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So the more you can get them to talk about that, and they're going to say, so what do you want to, where do you want to go? What is each day like? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to experience? What is that like? Like, and start getting them to really just paint that picture. And once they paint the picture, then like, let's look at the economics. If the economics make sense, you should do it. The economics make sense, don't do it. But what I want to be clear is, don't like what I want you to do is look at the data and realize like the statistical probability of these houses all coming down by 10-15% is not a likely outcome in the next decade based on the data we have because of supply and demand.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, one scenario down. Who else has one next?
I do, Chirag. Andrea.
I recognize your voice.
For those who don't. Okay, so scenario is I have a 1031 buyer. He's beyond his 45 days, but nudge, nudge, wink, wink, he feels like he can overcome that. He has to spend at least $1.8 million. He wants it to be in my neighborhood, which is a little enclave of families that kind of stick together. There is a triplex. It's 15 years old, so will be low maintenance. It's got pretty darn good income. And yet it would still not be cash flow positive. So I sent him a note and I said, here are some of the things that I understand you're looking for cash flow positive. Here are some of the intangibles you can't get if you're only focused on a 5 cap, because you can have anything you want. You just can't have everything you want. So either you can have it in the neighborhood or you can have something that's cash flow positive, but you kind of can't have both in our neighborhood. So what am I missing?
Well, I would send it to him, but like, look, you had mentioned two distinct items, right? One is the neighborhood, one in cash flow positive. In looking at the data, if you want to be in this neighborhood, here are the options, but it is not cash flow positive. Here's another set of homes in different areas that are cash flow positive. This is what is available in inventory, and I want to do the best I can to accommodate your timeline. What do you think works best for you and why? Make sure you say and why.
Why?
So you understand what he's saying. Yep. Remember, you're just giving him a bunch of choices. It's like playing a game of chess. Like there's certain pieces that can only move in certain ways, right? You can't have a pawn move like a queen because it's not a queen. So you kind of just move your piece and now it's his move. He moves his piece and it's your move. But you can't skip your turn, right? Like you still have to just make a move and he can't skip his turn. Well, if he turns around and he says, well, this is really great, but I want a house in that neighborhood with a 5 cap, I'm going to say, great. So based on the fact that there are no homes available and the sellers would be looking at this same data, if you were looking to sell your home, what would cause you to accept this much money less so it was cash flow positive when the majority of people that are looking at these homes are families? He needs to understand on his own that what he wants is just completely ridiculous. He could say what he wants, and there's nothing wrong with that. But once you provide somebody options, data, and reality, then they have to either choose to come to reality or not. But in this case, I would go along with whatever process he has, because if you have a signed agreement, he has to buy a property.
If I have a signed agreement, he has to buy a property?
No, he is there are two events, right? If you have a signed agreement, he's going to work with you, and he has a 1031 exchange, so he has to buy a property.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Helpful.
All right. I'm very happy that y'all came with scenarios today. Who else has a scenario?
I have one.
Hello, Carol. How are you?
Hello, Chirag. Okay, so in my market, Marin County, right over the Golden Gate Bridge, this happens every year. You hit Father's Day, graduation weekend, and Marin goes on vacation. So like last year, everyone was in Italy. This year, everyone's going to Spain. So
It
you
means you should
have
go on vacation too. It's a good time to leave.
well, I went in May when I didn't need to go, and I cut off 9 days of the trip too. So anyway, so what I'm finding at my open houses is buyers that are coming in, but they are new to the market. They haven't been actively searching. They're just starting their search. And they're just starting their search because they hear, oh, the interest rates are going to come down. So, and they're a little unsure. And I almost feel like I'm back in like 2009, 2010, where like for 3 years, I saw the same buyers coming through houses over and over. And I'm like, you haven't bought anything yet? And then they missed the market. So kind of the script that I am saying with people right now that are coming through is I go, it's very smart of you to be looking right now because we have this little lull in the market, which means that you have an opportunity to negotiate that you might not have once interest rates do drop and you got a lot of people jumping in. So the other thing is that I say is that a quarter point isn't enough of a drop for a refi. So why get hung up on a quarter point right now that may or may not, well, for sure, we're going to get at least one in the fall, but we've been hearing this for years. Oh, the feds are dropping
So
rates.
I would two things. Number one, don't ever in your life post anything or say anything about interest rates to your buyers. Literally. Do you remember?
Well,
I think
they're
it was
the ones
earlier
who are
this
kind
year.
of saying we're waiting for the rates to come
Oh,
down.
no. That's
So
fine. I'm just
what
saying
I'm
in general,
saying is
agents,
it's not worth it.
No. You don't have to say anything. We have to show them data, right? Remember the buyer's calculator we have? You can't say anything and then expect them to make a logical decision, right?
Yeah, but
Because in
also
their
too,
mind,
if you can knock money off the purchase price right now because you don't have competition, that's
exactly.
going to
So
offset
here,
any drop in the interest rate anyway.
so what we want to say to buyers, so you have a group of buyers you're working with, correct?
No, these are just buyers that are coming through my open houses. They're unrepresented. They're just starting to look. And so, they're talking to me about, well, what's going on and what's with this
So
buyer agent thing and all that.
there are a couple of suggestions I would have. One, I would pull the data from like the last 2 years in this lull month and see if you could find supporting properties and discounts and compare it to after the time when everyone comes back. Number one. Number two, I would say to them, like, look, I don't know if the time is 100% right for you, but in selling real estate here for blank amount of years, these 2 months are the best months to buy real estate here, and here's why. Well, we're thinking about if the interest rates go down and everything, great. Like I have a calculator. Let's model out the scenarios and let's look at the correlation between the drop in interest rates and purchase price and see what works best for you.
Mm-hmm.
And walk them through all of the different scenarios. And as you walk them through the scenarios, they're going to realize on their own what's best for them without you ever having to say so. No one, you got to remember one thing. If we all trusted salespeople, when you wanted to go buy a car, you go into a car dealer and you tell them exactly what you wanted, what your budget was, and everything else. But that's not how the world works.
Yeah.
Right? So you're an OG, so just use the framework that you know, ask them questions, provide data, be a resource, and help them understand, right? A great salesperson will get somebody to where like Carol wants them to go with it being their idea.
That's a perfect point. Having it be their idea.
Oh my God, look at Parker's cool baby. Sorry, this happens every time. Hello. I can't help myself. It's a very authentic version of me. You bring a kid on a Zoom call, no matter where I am, I'll always spot them. Hey, buddy. Look, he's waving. He's engaged. Your mommy works very hard for you. So look, Carol, it's frustrating, right? It's the same thing as having kids. I would imagine it's frustrating. Hey, here's an amazing opportunity. This is the best opportunity you're going to have to negotiate in a market where generally there aren't negotiations and things are very competitive.
Yeah, so that there is that frustration that people don't see that.
And they're not going to see it unless you help them see it.
Yeah.
Right?
All right.
Remember in Jerry Maguire, help me help you?
I was on the
That-
last call.
help me help you. Exactly. But you came with the scenario, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to start calling on people.
Okay.
Unless anyone doesn't, if anyone has a scenario.
I have a question, but I'm not sure if it's going to apply to everybody because it's more related to the NAR lawsuit. But so stop me if it's not appropriate for the
No,
group.
go ahead.
So with the buyer broker agreement, we were told, we had the broker come and talk to us last week, and she was saying to put 3% on there, even if, like, let's say, you're planning on doing 2.5% for yourself, because if the seller is offering 3% and you put 2.5%, it's going to default to 2.5%. And so my question is, how do I relay this to the buyer so that they're not freaking out, that
Simple, but it's the investment for our services is 3%. Now, if there is a case where the only incentive is 2.5%, we're happy to go down that 0.5%. But anything under 2.5%, you'd have to come out of pocket. That's it.
Oh my God, I overcomplicate everything in my mind. You just made that so much simpler.
Yeah, look, if I was saying this to you, like, look, you're reading this, this is 3%. Look, yes, the investment for their services and the things you had wanted, you felt would give you the best experience is 3%. That being said, if the only incentive offered out by a home is 2.5%, we'll write in the contract now that we'll discount up to 0.5% to meet you where you are.
Okay. I was also
right, but anything under
that second part.
Yeah, anything outside of that, you'll be responsible for.
Well, actually, no. So I have a follow-up question to that, though, because don't you have to provide that buyer broker agreement to the listing agent? So if they're seeing on there that I put that I'm willing to discount it up to 0.5%.
Hold on. Why do you have to wait a second? Why do you have to present your buyer's brokers? Who told you that?
Maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but I'm pretty sure that to show any house, we have to provide a showing agreement or a buyer broker. No, sorry, we don't have to provide it. We just have to have it, but they're not allowed to request it, right? That's what it is. Sorry. Still getting used to these new rules.
I didn't know when NAR and the real estate industry became subject to third world country rules. Like, this is crazy.
Now, we're told the same thing. We have to have, in order to show a property, you have to have something signed, period.
But I think you don't have to provide it now that I think about it.
Can I jump in there? I understand something similar, but it's they've moved all the compensation off the you're not showing what, how can I word this? What you're showing is on the MLS exclusion document, right? And so the buyer wants to know if there's seller compensation. So that, I believe, is through the MLS. They've moved it off to the MLS now, the MLS exemption. Sorry, haven't had all my coffee yet this morning. They've moved all that compensation to the MLS form. And that's, you don't show you, they won't be showing you their listing agreement.
Yeah, the question was actually more pertaining to if you're the buyer's agent and you're showing a property. I was just worried that if I put that language on the agreement, but I don't think that they're able to actually ask for it. I think it's just that the spotters can request it, not the actual listing agent.
Do you know what the real question is? Who the hell has time to look at 20 different agreements before you go into a house?
Tell me about it.
No, but I remember Kathy Maringer having some type of a conversation about this where they need to prove, or we need to provide evidence that of how much the seller is willing to compensate. I remember that conversation. I'd have to find notes, but I remember that conversation, Danielle.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Everyone will get this information whenever the heck the Department of Justice wants to provide clarity to the 1.8 million people that are part of this wonderful NAR trade organization. Until then, don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do, and only thing you could do is literally, right, Danielle, just drive yourself crazy with every different scenario. You don't know which one is going to happen. And that same time, if you just focus on having the conversations, talking about how what you offer in the context of what they want, that's the best solution to all of it. Because if you have a great value proposition, you're able to be a great listener and an effective communicator, then you're not going to have any problem, because whatever form you have, they're going to sign it. So this is one of the things, like, whatever is meant to be will be. And that's as simple as this can be. Nothing is going to change the order of the Department of Justice, what the forms are, what your brokers say. Listen, everyone is scrambling, trying to give you an answer. Imagine being a sales manager at Compass and hundreds of people every day ask you the same question. What's going to happen on this date where the government who made this settlement has not given us any information? I don't know. All right, I'm going to call Meg. Meg, you got a scenario for me?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Good to see everyone. So I'm battling with a seller back and forth. We've been doing this for months. He's an attorney, and everything seems like a challenge as opposed to a collaboration. They've got a house. They've got a very young child. We know there's things that need to be staged and depersonalized. I've got the whole thing ready. Had all the vendors come in, got the plan ready. They have made offers on now 3 different properties. I've explained to them, sellers are not taking contingent offers. We don't even have your property ready for the MLS. He's like, you're going to do what I need you to do. I'm like, yes, I will advocate for you, but I'm telling you the conditions of the market. Contingencies aren't happening multiple times. So at this point, he said he wants to do a virtual staging of his rooms. However, in my experience, that's never worked well. A buyer's going to show up, see a different picture, and it feels like a bait and switch. That's my own perception of the whole thing. I don't even know what to do with him at this point, other than maybe try to give him to another agent, because it is such a frustrating no-win scenario. Or is there some insight that someone can give as to how to get this just?
Well, twofold. Number one, attorneys are extremely difficult, right? It's what really makes me laugh is they want other people to work the way that they want them to work. But when people ask them to do their job that way, they're very reluctant to do so, right? So look, I would do a couple different things. In virtual staging, you have to make it very clear in the comments that it's virtual staging, right? So I wouldn't sweat that. Don't get hung up on it. You know, the last thing you need to do is he going to price his property well? That's my question.
Well, it's not out of the realm of possibility. However, the things that I've said that you need to do need to be done in order to achieve that price point. So it's almost a positioning of, yes, we can price it at 1.1, but if you don't do the actual staging and the paint updates, we need to put it at $1,050,000.
So look, this is, as I would say, real estate blood money. He'll eventually sell his house. He'll go through it, but the process that he's going to bring you through is going to be insane, right? Because I've worked with attorneys. I think everyone else has. This is what they do. Now, the other question you could ask him, be like, okay, so you want a seller to take your house with a contingency? Absolutely, great. So to be clear, I'm okay accepting an offer and pushing an offer. Hold on, wait. You want a seller to accept your offer with a contingency. So let me ask you a question. If I got you a great offer in your house and had a contingency to sell your house, what would you think of me?
Yeah.
Let's see what he says. He's just like, well, no, you wouldn't be happy with me because it's a variable that you can't control, right? Mm-hmm. Then the only other way of doing this, and do you have escrow on your market or contracts?
We have escrow.
Sometimes, right, you can't get a mortgage if you have another mortgage, right? So I have seen in the past, I'm not suggesting this is just an option that some agents do. And the way they feel, if the buyers, if the listing agent doesn't do research, it's their problem. They'll make an offer just with a standard mortgage contingency, knowing that they can never get a mortgage unless the house sells. So if the seller's agent does the due diligence, calls the person, that's why we say as a listing agent, you have to call every lender of an offer you're going to accept and say, is there a home to sell? Is there a contingency? Like, and be very clear about that. If not, you didn't necessarily do anything dishonest. You have loyalty and obedience to your client, right? So that's one way. Sounding by this guy, he might really like the idea of this, right? And then the other one is about price, right? Say, look, here are a couple different prices. If we do go into contract for a home, and we have this tight timeline, pricing is going to be important for both things to happen at once. Right? With attorneys, everything, he has to feel like he's in absolute control and everything's his idea.
It's so exhausting.
So here's another good one for these people. You know how he has an answer for everything?
Yeah.
Try this and text me and let me know what he says. As you already know, use those words. And the words is saying, well, I don't know. It'll be either very hard for him to say, and that when we've seen this with people that are borderline narcissists, that this is, it's like debilitating to them. It's like kryptonite. Because the last thing they want to say is that they don't know. So they generally go along with it.
Yeah. Okay. As you already know, you're a bonehead. Should we start there?
As you already know, as an attorney, as you already know, as an attorney, that you generally don't give out legal advice to sell one thing with an undefined contingency on another. Like, yeah, right. Like, so there are different ways, but I think asking him, like, if I brought you a similar offer for your house, I was really recommending it, would you be happy with me, or would you want to fire me, or think I worked in someone else's interest? And see what he says. And if not, loop in a team member that is less busy than you are, that can just deal with the abuse and go through the process. It's a sell and a buy, so it sounds like it's a good commission, but it's going to be like blood money. It's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah.
I just had a comment, Meg. Sometimes in the past, I have used some of the fellow brokers from our office or team members to come and kind of preview the house with you and give you comments, and then you can include their comments and share with your seller. I think that also might help when they see different eyes, and they are the people who have the buyers, and what their recommendation is. Just something to think about.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for that.
I have a thought as well. While there are a lot of parallels between what we do in real estate and the law, cases can drag on for years and years and years. So, Mr. Attorney, as you already know, while there are some parallels between your industry and ours moves at lightning speed. So we have to prepare before we execute. We need to revisit your circumstance so we can set you up to win. And then look at maybe getting the Compass Bridge loan.
We've tried all of those arenas. Yes, oh, I totally appreciate that. We've gone down many different scenarios with the bridge loan in 17 different fashions, letting him know I must set you up in a position to win. But I think the thing that you said about, as you already know, there are many parallels. However, in real estate, we work very quickly, as opposed to your litigation sometimes is years down the road. So maybe saying and defining, yes, there's parallels. However, ours works quicker. Thus, the need to prepare is that much more paramount.
Theirs could be 6 years for a single case. What kind of law does he practice?
I don't know, and I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Well, but it would help you to get into his mindset. So you could say, I know that a divorce case, if he's family law, can drag on for 6 years sometimes. We can be in and out and have you close escrow within 60 days. So as a result, we don't have time to prepare while we're going through it. We need to get you ready to go to begin with. That is the kind you want to win, right? They have a predisposition to win also. So maybe you niggle at that as well. Let's XYZ.
I've tried those trigger words. Win. We like to win. I want to put you in a position.
Correct. They like that. They're very
and as you already know. So look, I'll leave you on this note. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the buyer paradigm shift and kind of like what comes next. Everyone, make sure to mark your calendars. We have our AI. We're starting on the 12th. I have made more pre-made prompts than you may imagine to just make it all easier for you. We're going to have 2 extra hours that everyone had asked for. People wanted more training on the NAR stuff, and if all of you ask, I'm always going to say yes. So we'll get all those dates and everything out for you. And it's always love in my heart. I love you all, and I shall see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody. There you go. And then this stuff will kill you. Yes. So, like, it does something to you internally. It's fucking scary. Shit is scary. It's scary because you start feeling. I told you about that guy. I told you about that guy. I got it. No. We got it. Let's go home. Oh no. Just about it's about texting on all 15 stuff. My kids just caught COVID, man, and we were scheduled throughout the end of the week. Friday, maybe Monday. So we got called. Or push this till. Only push this till next week. I think it'll be here. Oh shit! When do you leave? We'll leave tomorrow. What? Yeah, I'm out. Dude. Gone. I'll be back on the 12th. Yo, you can't be. I'm out, dude. Just asking if we're scheduled for Monday the 12th. No, we're invited to see the space, please. No, don't get him to come here twice. Don't do it. We're not getting 2 meetings. Bro, I can tell you when I met him, it's not even that he's busy. The guy wants what he wants. You come here once, like, yo, this guy is judging us on every interaction. Right? Yeah, but that's not. But listen, there's a difference between being friends and cool with somebody and then like doing business. Yeah, no. That's what I'm saying. That's why they want to set up for what you want to set up. You just hear what he has to say. I say, can we do the 12? Charles will be out of pocket. If that's the case. He's
just do it. So I ain't doing no Zoom communication. And second, you know, if you wanna close a partnership deal, like, I want him, we need to sit in a room. I was like, think about it, if you're gonna sell somebody, wow, it's like, yo. Just say, man, hope your kids feel better, let's reschedule, ask them for the 12th, right? Yeah, it's not a big deal.